Today we're taking a look at the 2020 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Let's head to Region 3's award recipients from Iowa.
In southwest Iowa, Randy and Jill Euken have been raising cattle and growing crops for decades. Now, their farm has entered a new phase as they've started the process of passing the operation on to their daughter and son-in-law, Michelle and Steve Myers.
Randy and I were thrilled to have the next generation coming on, Michelle and Steve, to take over the operation.
It means a lot to have my family involved, that they're interested in helping achieve what we've started.
It's actually a century farm that we live on, which means it's been in the family 100 years. We're just really proud to be here and be able to do what we love.
Soil conservation has been a priority for Randy and Jill, and they've found that cattle are a valuable tool to help them achieve their goals. The Angus-based herd provides an opportunity to put fragile hillsides that are prone to erosion into more stable pasture.
In this section of Iowa, southwest Iowa, we have some fragile soil in places. Because of the fragile soil, we have to protect our runoff and try and hold everything we can, nutrients, water, on the farm.
The streams that are run through our farms, both the 7 Mile and the Nishnabotna, end up running into the Missouri River, which then flows into the Mississippi River and flows down to the Gulf of Mexico. So we are all engaged in the effort to limit the soil erosion and limit nutrients that leave our farm. So we do everything that we can, cover crops, terracing, to prevent nutrients from getting into those naturally occurring waterways.
Some of the things we found through cover crops, through grazing cattle, is that's what holds our dirt in place, and that's what's kind of kept us successful and profitable in the years. God only gave us so much soil. We want to make sure that we keep it for generations to come.
Randy and Jill realized rotational grazing could help them maximize production while still protecting the land. In order to make their grazing plan work, the family had to install nearly 10,000 feet of fencing, 3,000 feet of water pipeline, and 8 water tanks.
We had to make investments in fencing and in water because you have to get water to each of these paddocks. So it's a work in progress. We still have a lot more that we want to do, but we've been able to improve our pastures over the years.
We try to make it as labor inintensive as possible by having it set up so cattle get used to the rotation. When you open a gate, holler at them, they come. The rotational grazing also gives the grass a little break. Depending on the size of the paddock, it might be a few days, it might be a week, changing them between paddocks.
We really love rotational grazing out here. It's worked really well for our operation from the standpoint of we're not overgrazing the grass. We're giving certain paddocks a break to get some rain, to get some sun, to get some regrowth. We take that opportunity to subdivide pastures as well with some high tensile wire and some posts along the way to kind of divide a pasture further depending on what we need at that point in time for our grass sustainability.
We've always said through the years that our cattle producers are some of our best stewards of the land. This is a definite example, the Euken family, no question about it.
The Euken and Myers families made an unusual choice for a farm in Iowa. They took cropland they'd purchased and converted it into pasture for the cattle. That required renovation work to ensure the land had everything it needed to support their cattle.
It was quite the project. Seeded down a bunch of grass, put in a bunch of cross fences, built 2 big ponds. Below those ponds, we put a couple watering sources for our cattle. We've also since then restored a well and are working on putting in some paddock fences for rotational grazing.
We just looked at it and said, this doesn't really make sense. It should have always been in pasture. So we were just doing our part to try and do what's best for the land.
Not very many people that I know are buying cropland and putting it back into pasture land and making it profitable. That's the thing that I admire the most about Randy and Jill and their family.
Euken Farms also has a feedlot, which allows them to finish their cattle. The manure from the feedlot is collected and applied to their crop acres as fertilizer. In this way, all aspects of the farm work as part of a sustainable ecosystem.
We take a holistic approach on our operation where, we're raising the corn, we feed it through the cattle, then we use the manure from the feedlot to put back to the crops, and it all just kind of works seamlessly.
We take advantage of services that help us analyze our soils, know exactly what needs to be put on the soil so that we can prescribe what needs to be put out there.
It's fantastic to come across people like Randy and Jill and Steve and Michelle. They've been working hard to try and not only utilize the livestock manure to the best of the ability, but no-till and cover crops and all the technologies that they've instituted on their farm.
It's clear Randy and Jill have a deep commitment to stewardship and conservation, and these are values that have been firmly embraced by the next generation.
I believe cattle and a good, clean environment can go hand in hand, that the cattle are the reason why we are able to be good stewards of the land here in Southwest Iowa.
Cattle work really well for us. We're hopeful that we can continue to do that into the future and that more people can adopt practices to keep livestock on the landscape.
If we're going to be here farming this ground in 100, 200 years, this is the stuff we have to do now to make sure we're moving in the right direction.
Myself and my family care for the land, care for the cattle, because we feel it is the right thing to do. Without water, without sunshine, without grass, you don't have beef. It all works together.